So a lot of companies during these React.js interviews, what they will do is that they will pick one of the features that is already implemented into their product and would ask you to rebuild the same again for the machine coding round, which in turn provides them with a clear understanding of your development skills and if you would be able to face the challenges and the type of work that they will be providing to you in the actual job. Therefore, today I'm going to discuss this React.js interview question that was asked to me during my interview at an investment platform app, which was to build an EMI calculator feature. And I've seen that this question is sometimes asked in a lot of fintech and e-commerce companies interviews as well. So let's just quickly dive into the requirements for this question. Okay, so this was the document that they provided me for regarding the details of the EMI calculator, and if you scroll down, you're gonna see the UI for the EMI calculator. Obviously their UI was a little bit different, but I didn't want it to make it obvious for which company it was. So that's why I've created my own UI for the same. This EMI calculator is going to have three things. It's going to have a principal amount, a rate of interest, and the number of years given to you for the loan repayment. Let's just understand how this EMI calculator will work. So if we are, let's say, supposed to buy a house worth 50 lakhs, and we're going to make a down payment of 20%, which is around 10 lakh rupees, right? So we have a field in here, you're going to see processing fee. So what processing fee is, it's basically when you make a down payment, you have to pay that percentage of the processing fee on the remaining loan amount. So that's exactly what's going on over here. We're taking the 1% of the loan amount, that is 40,000, and we're adding to the down payment. So this is the total down payment that we are supposed to pay to the bank. And now what's the remaining amount? The remaining amount is 40 lakh rupees on which we are going to pay our loan or EMI. So here is the formula for the EMI calculator. And as mentioned over here, P stands for the principal amount, which is going to be the original amount, that is 50 lakh rupees, minus the down payment, that is our 40 lakh rupees. So this is going to be 40 lakhs. And R stands for the rate of interest that can vary. So in this calculator, we have interest rate. Okay, obviously this is not realistic. We don't have 100% as interest rate. It might be like 5%, 7%, 10%, right? So yeah, there's going to be that much interest rate, and there's going to be number of years, or in this case we have tenure in months, right? So we can choose that as well. Now with respect to all of this information, it's going to calculate our loan amount over here. And you can see we have two sliders over here for down payment and loan as well. When we increase the down payment, this loan amount should get decreased obviously, and with respect to the formula, it should calculate the loan amount. And when we move the loan amount slider, it should calculate the down payment amount. So that is what the major challenge in this interview question is, and also to integrate this formula into our code. So let's see how we can do this. First of all, let me just show you my implementation, what I did. So over here, let's say I'm going to take the same amount. So let's say 50 lakhs. So we've taken our 50 lakh rupees as the total cost of asset. Interest rate can be 10% and 1% is processing fee. So let's say we're supposed to pay 20% of the down payment. So which is going to be 10 lakh rupees, right? So this is going to be the down payment, and this is going to be the final down payment with respect to the processing fee. And with respect to that, we are calculating our total loan amount right over here. And you can see if we change our down payment, it's going to change the loan amount as well on this slider. We have this minimum loan amount and maximum loan amount which can be paid with respect to the minimum down payment and the maximum down payment. But if we change the tenure, you're going to see that these values changes, because obviously this loan amount is per month. So if you take 24 months to pay a certain loan, so obviously it's going to get reduced. If we increase it even more, it's going to get reduced, right? Because we have more time now to pay the loan. And with respect to all of this information, we are calculating the total loan amount over here. So don't worry, you might think that, okay, this looks like a pretty math heavy problem, but that's not the case. It's more of operators heavy problem. You have to know proper operators in JavaScript, and also how you're going to integrate it with this slider and, properly integrate the formula basically. So let's just get started and see how we're going to do that. So I'm just going to open the code sandbox and create a new app, a new React app. And also, as always, as I mentioned in this machine coding interviews, is that you have to follow the proper coding practices while building these apps, and also keep having conversation with the interviewer, keep asking him questions on what he or she is expecting from us. So okay, in this code sandbox, we have this dev app. I'm just going to remove everything inside of it. Alright, so to begin with, we're gonna first think about how many types of variables we're gonna need, variables or states that we are going to need to store our data. So let's see. So we're gonna need a state for the cost, interest rate, processing fee, down payment, loan, and tenure. So total 6 states, right? So how do you create a state in React? You're gonna use state. Okay, let me just import use state first. So use state provides us with an array which contains 2 things. One is the actual variable and the other is the function to change that variable. So I'm gonna take the first variable for cost, set cost. So basically this is where our information will be stored, and this is the function that will be used to change that variable. Initial value, I'm going to keep it as 0. Now apart from this, we're going to need 5 more: interest, fee, down payment, tenure, and EMI. Let me just keep the interest as 10 by default. So yeah, these are all the states that we are going to need. So let's just start building our UI now. First of all, I'm just gonna have a span tag for our title of EMI Calculator. I'm gonna give it a class name of title. We're gonna reuse this as well. Just gonna add some styles to this title now, which is simply font weight of 700. And for our app, so I'm gonna import a font Poppins. I mean, it's not necessary for an interview, but for the sake of this video, I'm just importing this font so that it looks better. I'm gonna take 500. Okay, and I'm just gonna provide this font to this Poppins. Okay, looks good. I'm just gonna remove this text align center as well. Okay, fine. So this title will be reused again and again, but for the sake of this EMI calculator, I'm just gonna add some inline styles, give it some font size 30 and margin top of 10. But before moving forward in this video, I would like to ask you, are you looking to upgrade your tech skills and launch a career in full stack development? HeroVired has got you covered. HeroVired certificate program in full stack development with cloud for web and mobile in collaboration with Unacademy is designed to give you the tools and knowledge you need to succeed in this exciting field. This program is industry driven and you'll get hands-on experience with 10 plus industry projects and case studies, including live capstone projects to build your portfolio. With 2 electives in Java and JavaScript stack, you'll gain a deep understanding of both technologies. Plus, you'll learn DevOps and mobile development through Flutter and learn to be a versatile developer. The curriculum includes a range of tools such as Node.js, MongoDB, SQL, Git and GitHub, DSA, Spring Boot, Python, Flutter, Docker, Jenkins, and AWS EC2. So you'll be well prepared for real world challenges. The best part is that they have small batch sizes and 70 to 90% live interactive classes. Therefore, you'll get the personalized attention you need to thrive. That's not all. The program also includes placement assurance. To learn more about HeroVired certificate program in full stack development, click the link in the description down below and download the brochure now. Now let's see, below this we're gonna have total cost of assets, an input box, interest rate, an input box. Okay, fine. So these 3 things. I'm gonna have another title, just like that, total cost of assets. Also this is coming in one line, so I'm just gonna provide some styles to this app class, some width 95%, some padding of left and right, display flex direction column so that it is aligned from top to bottom, some gap of 20 pixels between them, and font family of Poppins that we already gave. Now below this, I'm gonna create the input tag. It's gonna be of type, it's gonna be of type number. Value obviously is going to be the cost that we already defined on the top. On change, we're gonna say set cost and we're gonna provide it with the event of like value from the event. So e.target.value, and then I'm gonna provide it some placeholder text as well, which is going to be total cost of assets. Similarly, I'm gonna create it for the interest rate and processing fee as well. So yeah, title for the interest rate, and the value is going to be interest obviously. On change, it's going to provide it the e.target.value, some placeholder, and same for processing fee as well. The same thing, nothing much to explain here. Now below this, we're gonna have a slider, of course, for down payment. So I'm gonna provide it a title for down payment, and let me just say slider over here, and same for our loan. So I'm just gonna say loan per month, and below this we're gonna have a tenure as well. Yeah, so I'm gonna take it for tenure. Cool. All right, so let's start adding sliders one by one. So first of all, for down payment, I'm gonna have input, and the type for this will be range. This is how you make a slider in HTML. This will take a min and max value. So min value will be, for down payment, it's gonna be 0, and for max, it is going to be the actual cost, whatever that we had put right over here. So I'm just gonna put the cost here. We're gonna give this a class name of slider. So class name of slider, and this will take a value which will be coming from our state. So value will be this down payment. And we're gonna obviously have a function for changing it. So on change, I'm gonna call a function called update EMI, because adjusting this will update our EMI as well, right? So that's why update EMI name. So I'm gonna say const update EMI. I'm just gonna keep it empty for now. Now similarly, we are going to need it for our EMI as well. Just remove this slider. So this will have obviously EMI as a value. On change, it's gonna call update down payment, and I'm gonna create a dummy function for this for now. It's like that. Now here we need to calculate min and max value, but it's not that simple. So to calculate obviously the minimum EMI and the maximum EMI, we're gonna need the formula, right? So for the minimum, I would say I'm gonna create a function called calculate EMI, and I'm gonna provide it the maximum value, which is going to be of cost obviously. And we're gonna also have a max value, which will have the minimum value of the cost. So with respect to that, it will calculate our EMI, and I'm just gonna create an empty function for this as well. So calculate EMI. Also, you saw that we had these 0%, this value, 100%, right? So we're gonna need some labels for that. So below this, you know what, I'm just gonna take this whole thing inside our div so that this stays together. So just gonna add a div over here. Now inside of this div, another div, which will be for labels. So I'm just gonna give this a class name of labels. And inside of this, we're gonna have 3 labels. Actually, label are going to be 2, but we're gonna have a middle value. So label first one will be, in case of down payment, it's going to be 0% and 100%, right? And in the middle, we're going to have a B tag, which will contain the current down payment value. Okay, this has broken down. As you can see, we're going to have to fix this. We're going to fix it later on. We're going to first add it to this loan as well. So our lowest value will be this, as we already wrote over there, and the maximum value will be this one. Also, as you might already know, if you're supposed to write the JavaScript between these HTML tags, we have to use these curly braces, and we are supposed to write it between them. So that's why I'm writing this logic between these curly braces. And also I'm going to wrap this in our div. So just gonna take it over here. Works. Now let's go to style.css and give this some styles so that it looks good. See, styling is, I would say, is not the major part of these JavaScript or React.js interviews. But it depends completely on you. If you have time, then you can provide them styles, but I would recommend that you try to write the complete logic first and then try to provide the styling. So let me just bring in the styles real quick. So simply I've just provided width to be 100%, and for our labels I've just provided display to flex, some display content to be space between so that they have equal amount of space in between them. Alright, so that is it for the styling part. Let's go back and add some onChange logic. So inside of our update EMI function, we're gonna take the event from this, where was it? This down payment. It's gonna send us an event, right? Which will allow us to change the down payment. So it's gonna take this event over here and simply, first of all, I'm gonna check if there's something inside of the cost, only then we're gonna return. So if there's nothing inside of the cost, so we're gonna return, else we're gonna continue. So first of all, we're gonna check if there is something inside of the cost, only then we're gonna continue, else if there's nothing inside of the cost, we're gonna simply return it. And after that, I'm gonna say const DP or down payment is equals to, I'm just gonna convert it into a number because obviously this is going to be in string format, right? So e.target.value, and I'm gonna say set down payment to be this DP over here. And actually I believe this is going to be in decimal, so let me just first say 10,000 and okay, so that is fine, I guess. But let's say if we were to be in decimal, so I'm just gonna say to fixed 0. Now after this is done, we're gonna calculate the EMI. So calculate the EMI and update it. Same we're gonna do with our EMI change function as well, onChange function as well. So I'm just gonna copy it up, paste it over here. I'm gonna say EMI and number e.target.value, and I'm gonna say set EMI. And now with respect to that, after this we're gonna say calculate down payment and update it. Cool. And obviously this function is what we are going to use to calculate our EMI. Let me just bring it to the absolute top. Now also one thing I forgot, we were supposed to render this tenure as well. This got left out. So as you can see, we had these values for the tenure, right? So I'm just gonna create a constant for it. So you can create a constant here as well, but that is not really a good practice. So I would recommend that you create a separate file. In fact, I'll create a directory called utils, and I'm gonna create a file called constants to contain all of my constants of the app. So over here, I'm just gonna add a variable called tenure data and have this array, and I'm gonna export it as well. So below this tenure, I'm just gonna render it. So simply, I'm just gonna say tenure data. I hope it's imported. Yep, it's imported, and I'm going to map through it. Let's just take t over here as a variable, and I'm gonna return a button with the value of t. Obviously, we're gonna style them as well. I'm gonna give this button a class name of tenure. And on click of this button, we're gonna change the tenure, right? So on click, set tenure to be t. Now we're supposed to add a condition over here. So let's say if we selected a tenure, right? So we're gonna make it darker. Like as you can see over here, this tenure was selected, so this is dark. So I'm just gonna add a condition in our class name. So I'm just gonna use the backtick now, and this is gonna be in curly braces. So over here, I'm gonna use the template string. So $sign and 2 curly braces. This is how you can write JavaScript inside of this backticks. So I'm just gonna say if t is equals to the tenure, which is the variable for tenure, right? If you remember this thing. So if t is equals to the tenure, I'm just gonna add a class name of selected, else nothing. Also, outside of it, I'm just gonna wrap it inside of a div and give this a class name of tenure container. Let's just add some styles to it. I'm just gonna bring in the CSS and I'm gonna explain it. So tenure container will have the display flex so that it goes into one straight line, justify content space between so that it has the equal amount of spaces in between them and some gap of 10 pixels. Now for the tenure, width is going to be 15%, height 50%, no border radius of 100 pixels to make it curvy, some background color, that's all. And this color is actually some grayish color. And as you know that we added this selected class, if the tenure is equal to the selected tenure, then it's gonna have this selected class over here with background color of this. And you can see this is working absolutely fine. We're able to change our tenure. Now it's time to add the logic for EMI calculation. So let's go back to our sheet and see. So this is what our formula was. I'm just gonna take it and inside this calculate EMI, I'm just gonna add this formula and comment this out. So as I mentioned, with this formula, after integration of this formula, interviewer can know if you have the proper knowledge of JavaScript operators as well. Because as you can see, we have this power operator. So you would know that we can either use match.pow or that double asterisk operator to replicate this. So yeah, let's try to do this. So first of all, we have three things, P, R, and N. So I'm just gonna add our basic check first. So if cost is not there, then return. So I'm gonna have three variables, const loan amount, which is going to be our P. So what is the loan amount? It's cost minus down payment. But see, this down payment is always not going to be taken from our state. Sometimes, for example, over here, we are sending the down payment through this function as well, right? So this DP over here. So I'm just gonna take this down payment from our params. I'll explain you in depth why I did that in just a moment. So I'm just gonna take this and provide it over here. Now that's our P. Now for our R, so const rate of interest is going to be our interest, which is this divided by 100, because obviously this is in percentage, right? Third thing will be our tenure. So const tenure is gonna be, actually I'm gonna say number of years, because tenure is in months, right? So tenure divided by 12. So that is how we're gonna have the number of years. Like for example, if it's 12, so 1 year, 24 for 2 years, etc. Now after this, let's just convert this into a final formula. So const EMI will be, so first of all, we're gonna have P, so loan amount multiply by rate of interest multiplied by 1 plus R to the power of N. So I'm gonna say 1 plus rate of interest. So for the power, we have the operator of double asterisk. So double asterisk to the power of number of years, right? So that's the first part. Now divide this by 1 plus rate of interest, and it's gonna be of power of number of years minus 1. I think this should be good enough. Let me just check. Yeah, I think that looks good. So after this, I'm just gonna return this EMI, but let me just format it. So number of EMI, and so we're gonna return monthly EMI, right? So this is yearly EMI. So I'm just gonna divide it by 12. Dot to fixed of 0, so that we don't have any decimals. And I guess that should do it. Let me just try to okay, let me just have some. Okay, looks like it's shaping up. All right, so it's just same as down payment. Why is that? Oh, maybe because we are not yet calling it inside of it, right? So right, okay, const EMI equals calculate EMI, and we're gonna provide it with this value, and whatever that we get, we're gonna say set EMI to EMI. Hopefully this should work. Okay, but the value is same. I think it's because I haven't changed the label over here. Yep. Let's do this. And okay, this is working fine. But if we change the EMI, obviously this is going to break because we haven't added the logic for changing the down payment yet. Okay, that looks good. Now, for the update down payment, we need to create the function for calculating the down payment. So similarly as calculate EMI, I'm gonna create const calculate down payment as well. And I'm gonna simply take it, and inside of over here, I'm gonna say const p equals down payment. I'm going to provide it with the EMI value. Also, this is going to be EMI.toFixed, not DP.toFixed, obviously. So that was my bad. All right. So after this, I'm going to say set down payment to be DP. And yeah, I think that should be good enough. But obviously, I haven't added the logic inside of it. Don't worry if you're having trouble understanding it. I'm just going to reiterate everything that I've done over here in just a second. Inside of this calculate down payment, this will provide me with the EMI. I'm going to receive the EMI over here, and inside of this we're going to add the check, and then I'm going to say const down payment. You know what we're going to do over here is that we have this EMI value, right? And we note that this is going to be inversely proportional to this down payment over here, as you can see. So we can calculate the percentage of down payment with respect to this loan over here. So I'm going to say const down payment percent, and it's going to be equal to 100 minus whatever the EMI right now is. So EMI divide by calculate EMI of like maximum EMI, whatever the maximum EMI is. I'm gonna take the current EMI and divide it by the maximum EMI and multiply it by 100. And I think that should give us our down payment percentage. Now that we have a down payment percentage, we can calculate the actual down payment with that. So we're gonna say return. I'm gonna format it to the number, and I will say down payment percentage divide by 100 multiplied by cost. And obviously I'm going to say toFixed to 0 so that it doesn't have any decimal place. Let's see if this works. Okay, this works flawlessly. Amazing. Let me just try to change the processing fees to 2%. Obviously we're not calculating that yet, so let's just do that as well. But before that, I need to take care of some edge cases. So let's say if this reloads and whatever this total cost of assets is, I want to calculate the minimum and maximum for EMI as the component loads. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say use effect, and I hope this is imported. Yeah, it's imported. So use effect basically runs when your component is loaded for the first time if you keep this dependency array as empty. If this dependency array is empty, then this function will run only one time. If this has some variable, then this will run every time that variable changes. And if you haven't provided this dependency array, then this will run every time any single state changes. Like if you change every state in your component, then this will be updated every single time. So we don't want that. For now, we want the empty array. And again, if the cost is not there, that is, it is not more than 0, then we're going to set the down payment and EMI to 0. Right now, after that, we're going to calculate the EMI if our tenure changes. So whenever our tenure change, we want to recalculate the minimum and the maximum EMI, right? So I'm gonna say, where is it? Here, I'm just gonna take this. And instead of DP, I'm just gonna say down payment, whatever the current down payment is. And yeah, I think that should be good enough. Oh, obviously we're not providing the tenure. So tenure, need to provide the cost as well. So it's like that. And let's change the tenure. Okay, our maximum and minimum EMI is getting updated. That's good. And yeah, I think that is it for this. Now let's try to calculate the total down payment and total loan as you may have seen over here. Total down payment this much, total loan amount this much. Now right over here, right below this, I'm gonna add a span tag of the text of, let me just quickly write that down so that I don't waste much time. So total down payment, and we're gonna have the logic after it. So that is what we're going to write next. But before that, let me just provide it some styling quickly. So obviously this is going to have the class name of title as well, and some extra additional styles of text, decoration, underline, so that this is highlighted even more. Now to calculate this down payment, total down payment with respect to the processing fee, what we're gonna do is, first of all, I'm just gonna wrap it in this number down payment multiplied by cost multiplied by fee divided by 100. Let me just show you why I did this. So as you can see over here, yeah, we had, after we took the down payment of 10 lakh rupees, we had remaining amount as 40 lakhs, right? So on 40 lakhs, we were supposed to calculate the 1%, and then we will have this final processing fee, which will be added into this down payment. So that's what we have done. We've taken the down payment, and oops, this is not going to be multiply, it's going to be plus. And instead of cost, it's going to be cost minus down payment. Okay, let's see if it's 1000. So whatever down payment is, oh, okay, we're supposed to, make it to without decimal values. So we say to fixed of 0. Yeah, now if you see, if it's 229, if it's 392, we're gonna add 1% processing fee as well. And yeah, that is for the total down payment. Similarly, we're gonna calculate the total EMI as well. So I'm just gonna take this and paste it over here. I'm gonna say total EMI, and this will simply be, current EMI multiplied by the number of months. So I'll just say here EMI into tenure. Or better, I would say total loan amount to be EMI into tenure. So now if we try to 10,000, and if there's this down payment, yep, you can see the total loan amount is over here. Also, as you can see, there was this not a number value, right? If we reload this, we don't want that. If there's nothing inside of EMI, we don't want to show this heading at all. And we will add that logic in just a second. So one of the requirements for this interview question was that we are supposed to, format every single currency value with proper commas, right? So for example, if we are writing it as such, so this should have comma right over here, right? So that's when I need to create a logic for doing that. So I'm going to create a new file for our config.js. And obviously you're not gonna be able to know what regex to use over here if you're not really good in regex like me or like most of the people. So interviewer allowed me to Google this logic on how I can add these commas onto these numbers. So I'm just gonna take it now, and I'm gonna add it right over here. So in this down payment, just import it. It's imported. Yes, it's imported. Here onto our EMI to the maximum and minimum EMI as well. Just like that, and let's see. I'm gonna add one more 0. Okay, yeah, over here as well. So it up, and this thing, instead of just adding it over here, I think I should create a separate function for this thing, right? It's looking too bloated over here. I'm just gonna take this and create a function right over here called total down payment. Now I'm going to take this total down payment and call it right over here. Similarly for total EMI as well, I'm not gonna have it over here. I'm gonna create a function right over here and just simply call it over here. Yep, I think that looks good. Okay, fine. And with this, I think our EMI calculator is done, but no, one major thing is missing in our app, which is very important in these machine coding interviews. Can you guess what it is? It is making our components reusable. So as you can see, we have dumped all of the code over here, like multiple different input fields that can be reused and the slider that can be reused, right? So we're going to create different components for these. So I'm going to create a new folder over here called components. And I'm going to create two files. One will be slider input.js. .js, slider input.js, okay. And other is going to be just text input.js. Cool. Now we're going to create the component for our text input. So I'm just going to do the text input. I'm going to give that name, and this is going to take some params and it's going to return us something. Now let's go back to our app.js and take whatever we need. Okay, we have this span and input tag. We're going to take that and we're going to dump it over here. And obviously this needs to be wrapped inside of a parent. So I'm just going to say react.fragment. I'm going to wrap it inside of a fragment. Just like that. Now let's see what are all the things that we're going to need. We're going to need a title. So instead of this, I'm just going to have a title over here. We're going to take it through props so that we can make it reusable for every single component, right? And we're going to have a state. Like for example, if it's a cost, then it's going to be for the cost state. If it's interest rate or if it's processing fee, right? So we're going to have state, and obviously we're going to have something to change that state. So set state. So I'll just say state and add this over here. And for the set state, I'm just going to add this one. And I think that should be good enough. Okay, this one title is going to go over here as well. And I think we have successfully created a reusable text input component. Let me just import React over here. Else it's going to give us some error. So import React from React. Okay, let's try to use it in our app.js. So instead of these three, I'm going to remove all of these three. And for the first one, I will say title is going to be total cost of assets, state cost, set state to be set cost. Let me import it. Okay, import text input from ./component/text input. I think we're not exporting it right now. So yeah, export default text input. Let's see. Does it work? Fragment. What's wrong over here? Import. Oh, I think we're not supposed to do this. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is rendered. Oh, my bad. This is rendered. So similarly, we're gonna have for interest rate and processing fee as well. So I'm just gonna bring in both of them. And you see how simple it was that we just wrote that code once and now we get to reuse it again and again and again. So this is the power of React. Now we're gonna do the same for our slider component as well. So let's take this whole thing up. Go to the slider component, slider input. I'm gonna create a function, slider input. Input. We're gonna have some params. We're gonna say export default slider input. Slider input. We're gonna return something from it, and we're gonna wrap it inside of React dot fragment, And now inside of this, we're going to provide our slider code, which is this one. Let's see what are all the things that we're going to need over here. First of all, obviously we're going to need the title similar to the text input. So I'm going to say title and obviously state as well. So let's just provide these. So wherever we have this down payment, so title, and for our state, I'm just gonna replace this down payment here, and yeah, we're gonna have to keep something for labels as well, and this min and max. So let's take for min, for max. First of all, I'm gonna replace it with min and max, right? We're obviously gonna have to take an onChange as well. So onChange. Now, as you can see, for the down payment, the min and max is different. Like for example, for EMI, the min is going to be the same over here, and the label is also going to be the same over here. Also, I can see that I've misspelled label. So min and max can be used over here as well. But in some cases, whenever this is different than min and max, we're gonna have another label. So label min and label max. So what we're gonna do is, if we have this label min or label max, so if we have label min, so we're gonna display that. If we don't have that, then we're gonna display this min, and we're gonna display this with number with commas, the function that we had created earlier. Right, so that this is properly formatted. Similar over here, label max. If we have this, we're gonna say number with commas. Now you might be wondering what this is. So this is basically nullish coalescing. If it says that if this is false, then this is gonna be rendered. But if this is true, then this is going to be rendered. Right, so that is what we're doing over here. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh yeah, we have this, the underline title, right? So I'm just gonna take another, so underline title, and I'm just gonna replace it with this underline title. Yep, I think that should be good enough. Also, we're gonna only render it if our state is there. As I mentioned, this is not always going to be rendered, right? Else we're gonna see this not a number error. Yeah, I think that should be good enough. Let's try to render it. I'm gonna take this slider input. I'm just gonna get rid of both of these sliders. First of all, I'm gonna render our first slider with the title of down payment, underline. Let me just import it first. Yeah, so first of all, it's gonna have title of down payment that is already given. Some underline title or logic, whatever that we had written in that component. We're just gonna pass it through this prop. onChange, it's going to take the update EMI function, which is this one. State is going to be the down payment for the down payment slider, the min and max that we were providing, and the labels for this. So if we try to run this now, yep, you can see, okay, there's some issue over here I just saw. So if we re-render it, you're going to see this 0 over here. We don't want that. So, okay, yeah, if the state is more than 0, only then render it. Okay, got it. Yeah, I think that's good enough. Let's do the same for our EMI as well. So for EMI, we won't have this label min and label max. So apart from that, we're gonna have the title, the underline title, whatever logic that we wrote, onChange function, state, and our min and max. So I think this should be good enough. Let's just try to okay, yeah, I think this is working flawlessly. Awesome. If it's 0, then it's not going to show up. If the down payment is 0, then that title is not going to show up. Awesome. And you know what? I encountered one issue. As you can see, if we reload this, when we're entering the cost, okay, that's fine, I think, but this is not being updated. So I think what I'll do is I'll just add, apart from tenure, I'll just add cost here as well. So that whenever the cost change, we're gonna calculate the EMI. Now I think this should be good. So if I say, yep, it's being calculated real time. Great, that is working as expected. Now there is one last thing remaining in this, which I'm gonna give you as a homework. So as you can see in this interest rate, we can enter the value more than 100 as well. So this should not be the case. Interest rate should be maximum 100 because this was one of the requirements of this, right? And also this processing fee is also supposed to be max 100%. So I'm giving you this homework to add this validation in your app, and just comment down below what logic you used to add it. Whenever you try to enter something more than 100, don't allow the user to enter it. And that is it for this interview videos. Now, if you're preparing for your front-end interview and you would like me to help you in your front-end interview preparation, just click the link in the description down below and book a one-on-one call with me. We're going to discuss tips, tricks, and I'll provide you a lot of resources which will help you in preparation for your front-end interviews. Now, if you like this video, give this video a huge fat thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more such awesome interview videos. Goodbye.